Hey YouTube land, Untitled Chapter doing another action figure review. Now, unfortunately, I haven't uploaded anything in a while, even though I've been trying to upload a video at the time of this recording, and it failed twice on me, so hopefully this one won't. I was hoping to have an upload of review of a couple of the McFarlane Mortal Kombat figures, which would have been great because it would have been just in time for when the Mortal Kombat trailer actually dropped, but unfortunately that is not the case. So instead I'm doing a quick video review for another one of the Lanard Predator Collection Hunter series 7-inch fully posable figure of the City Hunter. So these are exclusive to Walmart in the US. You can buy them on the Walmart website, but unfortunately they don't have them in stock from Walmart directly, so your only option on the website is third-party sellers, and they're looking for over the odds for them as per normal, so they're like twice the price, or at least a good markup on the original price. They should be around 10, I think, between 10 and 15 for the small ones, and I think it's 20 for the big guy, which I've already reviewed. But this is the 7-inch Hunters Predator Collection Hunter series. So there's only 3 figures in this wave. If you look at the artwork on the box, it's quite nicely done. There's an artwork of a different Predator up on top. Flipping around the back of the box, I'm not sure if you can see the whole lot, but there's a brief bio. If I just pan my camera up momentarily, there's a brief bio on the whole thing. And you have a image of the Predator. He's there in the background. This is City Hunter. Now, I will bring the box back in at some point, just to go over some stuff. But here is the images of the prototype for the figure, and then it's speciality hunter weapons. Now, you don't get all of these in the box. The plasma bazooka and the electro claw is from the other 2 figures in this wave. And if I flip around to the side box, and I'll just move it sideways, you can see the other figures in the wave. So you have Berserker from Predators, you have Jungle Hunter from the first Predator movie, and technically Predators, there was one in Predators as well. And then you have City Hunter, which is the one I'm going to review. So as I said, Plasma Bazooka comes with the Berserker. The Electro Claw comes with Jungle Hunter, even though that is an inconsistency, because in the movies, if you're a fan of the Predator series, you will recognize that claw as a spear tip, and they say it's the weapon that Danny Glover's character finds. Well, it's actually not Danny Glover's character, it's his buddy finds it, and when he gets killed by the Predator, spoilers unfortunately for those who haven't seen a nearly 30-plus-year-old movie, when he gets killed by the Predator, they prise that out of his hand, and when they bring it to like a spectral analyzer for checking what the metal is made out of, it's made of an unknown metal, and the person behind it says it looks like a spear tip, or the person who's looking at it says it looks like a spear tip. It's also not the weapon that kills his partner character, but it turns up earlier in the film when the Predator attacks a complex. So yeah, so the box is quite nice. You have the kind of in behind the packaging, the blister, or in behind the plastic that holds the Predator in place. You have like jungle kind of concrete stonework on the bottom. So they did a lot of detail on the box, which is quite nice. But less on that, more about the figure. So if I bring in the figure, I'll just get him into a more neutral pose, and I will bring in the tape measure. So you can see, maybe if I move him back a bit, you might be able to see. Bear with me a moment. Bring in the old tape measure. Unfortunately, I don't have one of those fancy electronic ones, but going with the old bog standard. So you can see he is just around 7, maybe a hair taller than 7 inches. So it is what they say on the box. He comes with 2 accessories, one of which is his combi stick, which is the throwable spear that they use in the film, well, in Predator 2. So the idea behind it is these would fold in, or these would extend out when he wants to throw it, and then it would be stored on the Predator when he needed to. And the other thing he comes with is the Smart Disc, or the throwing disc, as some people know it as. It is the Smart Disc, so it's a handheld frisbee-like disc that is controlled by the Predator. So once he lets go of it, it can actually be targeted to where it wants to send it. So it is kind of a almost drone style disc, but it is razor sharp. And unfortunately, this one doesn't do what it's supposed to do in the movie. So before he throws it in the movie, it extends out, and just to give it a better throw, well, better range, most of the time, like, it does store on the peg on his side of his leg, on his right leg. It's pretty much the same as the ones that you would see with the NECA figures. I think NECA have only ever done one version of it, which is extended, which is one of the more recent versions. And I think, I'm not sure if it even came with the Ultimate version of City Hunter. I think it came with one of the other versions that reused City Hunter's molding. But yeah, so that is the Smart Disc it comes with. He has his shoulder cannon, which is not really removable. It can move around on the ball peg, but there's also, it's like pegged in at the side. You could probably prise it out if you wanted to remove it, but it doesn't. In the movie, it moves on this track that's on the back, and I'll show you one that does that in a little bit. But overall, it's not too bad. Wrist blades, non-retractable, but they are really nicely done. They're not too over the top. I think people are saying the one on the Jungle Hunter, I've seen reviews for Jungle Hunter and Berserker, the wrist blades on them seem to be a little bit over the top, whereas on this guy, he's not too bad. You have a very nice gold paint app for the helmet, and you have black in the eyes. Dreadlocks are quite nicely done. They're not painted. They don't have the little ringlets painted on it. Now, that's another thing that this figure has. There's a lot of kind of missing paint apps. So you have the holster for the disc is not painted. You have the you don't have any paint on the computer or wrist gauntlet computer. Usually they're like black, and you can see kind of LED lights on it. He has missing paint app here on this strap that holds on his shoulder armor. He also has missing paint app there on the back armor plate. It's interesting because they painted nearly everything except for that back armor plate, and again on the shoulder here where the armor should be kind of grey as well. And then on the arms and on the legs, they did exactly what they did with the big version. So the plastic they used is just the whole plastic from the wrist, from the wrist to the elbow. So they didn't actually paint where the skin tone should be the same color that the skin is. Also, the markings, that kind of brown tiger striping marking, doesn't transfer onto the back. You can see it just stops at the front. Usually that's a common thing with Lanard. They just paint what's called the show side of things. And if I bring the box back in, actually the other thing that's interesting as well is, if I just move his head, you can see the neck collar piece. You can see it's painted on the front, and then it stops halfway. I think it was the same with one of the other, or no, it was on the big guy. His one stops. So he is missing some paint apps. I do plan on actually doing some customization on this guy, which is one of the reasons why I picked this guy up. He's not available yet here in Ireland. They should be available in March. According to Smiths, they're going to be exclusive to Smiths Toys in Ireland. But whether or not they turn up is anyone's guess. Sometimes they show stuff that's due to come in and then it never turns up. So you just have to play it by ear. And as we're in lockdown still at the moment, I'm not too sure if we will see anything new for a little while. So if I bring the box back in and just point something out on the old paint app department, what's interesting is if you look, you can mostly see it on the wrist gauntlets. So I'm not sure if the camera's picking it up, but if you look closely at the wrist gauntlets on the back of the box, you can see there's actually a gold dry brush on it, and it's the same with the chest armor. And up here you can see there's a slight gold. He has a kind of almost silver, very faint silver dry brush on some areas, but it's not gold. And I think the gold would have made him pop, because it would have made him look more like his movie counterpart. Also of note is his waist piece is actually different. He doesn't have the full armor piece coming down, so it is different. It looks like they sculpted the piece underneath, or what would be normally underneath his armor, and forgot to add this piece on top. So they must have gone back and fixed that. And that holster for his actual blade, the smart disc, is actually painted on this gun as well, on the prototype as well. So there is some varying differences on the prototype to the finished product. It would be interesting to see if there's similar stuff on the Berserker and on the other one. So if I just bring in another figure for a size comparison, this is the NECA. Now this isn't the ultimate version, this is the earlier version of him. So you can see he, if I just bring him back a bit, you can see the NECA one does tower over this guy. So they aren't the same scale, but if you want to kind of give him a good scaling, actually you can see on the NECA one, what I mean is you can see that's what the waist piece looked like without this piece on it, and it looks like they went back and sculpted it because they'd forgotten it. But you can see on the NECA one they actually have some of that kind of gold metallic dry brushing going on over the metal, so it would have made a really cool base for this. So if I just move them out to the side, I'll bring in some other figures that are in scale to these guys. So if you want to scale them up to something more in scale, you have, here's Jonesy from the 6-inch Legacy series from Fortnite, a good old basic Stormtrooper from Star Wars. This is one of the very first ones. I think this is the one from I got with the Amazon 4-pack, I think it was, or 3-pack. It was a 3 or 4-pack anyway. It came with 2 versions of Clone Trooper. The First Order Stormtrooper, and I think this guy. And then just for another size comparison, because I haven't to hand, and I was a bit too lazy and didn't bring over any of my other classified series. Here he is with the Prophet Director Destro from the G.I. Joe classified line. So if you want a Predator that's in scale with your classified figures and is fairly decent, there is that. And I'm just realizing I didn't go over any of the articulation on this guy, so I will do that now. So for articulation, he is quite decently articulated, which is one of the reasons I like this line quite a bit. So he has your regular kind of shoulder joint in and out. It can rotate most of the way around, but it does get hindered by the shoulder pad on this side. You don't have that issue on the opposite side, but it doesn't go up as far on the other side, on the left side, because of the shoulder, or because of the armor plating. You have a single swivel in the elbow, a joint in the elbow. You got a swivel in the wrist. Now I'm trying to figure out if the wrists are on a ball peg or if they're just swivels, because the ankles are actually on a ball peg, so it's more noticeable on this. The left ball peg on mine is super loose, so there is that to be wary of, but you can get some great poses. You can do splits that much, forward, back, that much. He has kind of a slight angle on the hip because of the ball peg. Single jointed knee. You can kind of get him to do a good range of movement. Just get him to stand. There is no peg holes on the bottom of the feet. He has a ball joint at the waist, which is quite nice. You get a good range of movement on that. Ball joint on the head. Now I think this guy is probably one of the better ones. Him and Berserker would probably be really good for posing, because hairpiece doesn't really get in the way too much, and neither does the shoulder cannon. It does start hitting it once you get to this way, but you get a good turn on the head. As I said before, the cannon is on a ball peg, so it can rotate around. It can go kind of go up, kind of go down, not much. And if I just bring the other one back in again, you can get some good range of movement. He does hold his combi stick quite well, but as I was saying, if you look at the NECA one, you can see there is a rail that the plasma caster will go on for these guys. So it would have been nice if they had included that or incorporated that into the Lanard one, but it is what it is. It's a fairly cheap toy. It would have probably required a lot more tooling to get something like that into it. Now, as I said previously, he does have storage for the weapon. He can hold onto the other weapon. He doesn't actually have storage for it, but he can hold weapon quite nicely in his left hand. He can hold it nice enough in the right hand, but the one on mine is slightly outstretched for one particular reason, so it can actually get him to hold the smart disc the way it's intended. When you get him first, you will probably need to heat up the hand a bit or to stretch it out a bit, like I'm doing here. So you can actually poke the hands, or the fingers, I should say, into the actual spots they're supposed to go in. The small finger is usually the one that's the most troublesome on this. So I can get it in, get it on. So you can get him to hold it, and just boot the arm up a bit. You can get him in some quite nice kind of throwing poses with the disc, and have him hold his combi stick at the same time. So just rotate the head a bit so you can get some really good poses out of him. As I say, it's a fairly cheap figure. If you want something just for display, it's not too bad. You would probably need to do a bit of work on it paint wise to make them really pop, which is what I kind of intend to do. So hopefully that will make this guy look a good bit better once I get through him. And what I'll probably do is do an update video with this guy updated. So there you go, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video review of the Lanard City Hunter Predator from their Hunter series. And as I say in my videos, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Cheers!